hum of the city was a familiar lullaby to Alara, a digital archaeologist with a penchant for the web's forgotten corners. Her apartment, a nest of monitors and tangled cables, was a testament to her obsession, unraveling the internet's most cryptic mysteries. But nothing could have prepared her for shinywr. It was a name whispered in the deepest forums, a ghost in the machine that defied all logic. A YouTube channel with a single video, its timestamp a string of numbers that seemed to stretch into infinity. The hum of the city was a familiar lullaby to Alara, a digital archaeologist with a penchant for the web's impossible, a digital paradox. Video compression, server limitations, the very fabric of data storage screamed that such a thing couldn't exist. Yet, there it was. The video was a single, unchanging frame of what looked like a star field, but the audio was where the real mystery lay. It was a soft, rhythmic static, a sound that felt ancient and impossibly complex. For weeks, Alara had been trying to crack it. She ran spectrograms, analyzed... The hum of the city was a familiar lullaby to Alara, a digital archaeologist with a penchant for the web's forgotten corners. Her apartment, a nest of monitors and tangled cables, was a testament to her obsession, unraveling the internet's most cryptic mysteries. But nothing could have prepared her for shinywr. It was a name whispered in the deepest forums, a ghost in the machine that defied all logic. A YouTube channel with a single video, its timestamp a string of numbers that seemed to stretch into infinity, but the metadata was clear, a duration of 140 years. It was impossible, a digital paradox. Video compression, server limitations, the very fabric of data storage screamed that such a thing couldn't exist. Yet, there it was. The video was a single, unchanging frame of what looked like a star field, but the audio was where the real mystery lay. It was a soft, rhythmic static, a sound that felt ancient and impossibly complex. For weeks, Alara had been trying to crack it. She ran spectrograms, analyzed the waveform, and even translated the binary noise into every conceivable language. Nothing. It was a perfect, seamless loop of data, a digital ocean without a shore. It was the Everest of her field, a challenge so profound that most of her colleagues had dismissed it as a hoax, a clever bit of looping code that tricked YouTube's duration counter. But Alara knew better. She had analyzed the file structure itself, a feat that had taken her months. The file wasn't looping, it was linear. Every single second of its 140-year length was unique, encoded and stored on some unknown data farm that was, by all accounts, the most powerful data repository in human history. Who would fund such a thing, and why? Tonight, however, was different. A new algorithm she'd been writing for weeks, one designed to look for patterns not in the data itself, but in the absence of it, finally pinged. A single anomaly, a missing byte in the stream that occurred every 1,374 hours. It wasn't a glitch, it was a signature, a key. As she isolated the recurring void, her screen flickered. The star field in the video shifted just for a nanosecond, and a new sound emerged from the static, a single, clear musical note that hung in the air like a crystal chime. It was the first change in the video in its entire impossible existence. A chill ran down Ilara's spine. This wasn't just a long video, it was a message, a time capsule, and she had just turned the key. Her heart hammered against her ribs. She saved the recording of the note, a perfect C#, resonating at a frequency that was mathematically flawless, with no decay or overtone. It was the purest sound she had ever encountered. She tried to trigger the event again, manipulating the data stream, but the video remained stubbornly static. The moment had passed. The window, it seemed, only opened every 1,374 hours, roughly 57 days. The next event was 2 months away. She couldn't wait that long. The discovery burned in her mind, a secret she couldn't possibly keep. There was only one person she could trust, one mind sharp enough to understand the implications. She opened a secure, encrypted messaging client and typed a name, Kaito. He was her friendly rival, a freelance data miner who operated in the gray zones of the digital world. Where Ilara was methodical and academic, Kaito was a whirlwind of instinct and brute force processing power. Ilara, Kaito, I need your eyes on something. A reply came almost instantly. If it's another dissertation on 16-bit encryption, I'm busy. Ilara, it's shinywr. The 3 dots indicating he was typing appeared and disappeared several times. Finally, a single word came through. Impossible. That ghost is a digital myth. Ilara, it's not a myth, it's a lock, and I just found the key. She sent him the data packet, a recording of the pure C# note and the logs from her algorithm showing the recurring byte void. She watched the delivery receipt turn from sent to read. The silence on the other end was heavy. Kaito, for the first time she could remember, was speechless. 10 minutes passed, then 20. Ilara began to wonder if his server had crashed. Ilara, what have you done? This isn't a simple anomaly. The periodicity, 1,374 hours, that's not random. It's the orbital period of a hypothetical planet 9 in our own solar system, adjusted for relativistic effects. Ilara's breath hitched. She was a codebreaker, not an astrophysicist. What are you talking about? Kaito, the note, the C#, its frequency is 554.37 hertz. That's not just a musical note. In theoretical physics, that exact frequency is linked to the vibrational resonance of a stable wormhole. People have been looking for this signature in cosmic background radiation for decades. He sent her a flurry of research papers, complex equations, and astronomical charts that made her head spin. The shinywr video wasn't just a long file, it was a scientific model of staggering complexity. The static wasn't noise, it was a representation of the quantum foam of the universe. The missing byte wasn't a key, it was an acknowledgement, a signal to the system that an intelligent observer was present. The note was its response. Ilara, so the video is a map? Kaito, it's more than a map, it's an instruction manual. The note isn't just a frequency, it's a coordinate. Look at the star field, Ilara. It's not just a pretty picture, it's a 3-dimensional rendering. Where does that note point? Galvanized by his words, Ilara turned back to her main monitor. The star field was composed of billions of points of light. Finding a single coordinate would be impossible, but Kaito's insight gave her a new path. The note wasn't just audio, it was data. She began to analyze its internal structure, the subtle, almost imperceptible modulations within the sine wave. It was a secondary layer of information hidden in plain sight. It took her another 12 hours of frantic coding, her fingers flying across the keyboard, fueled by caffeine and pure adrenaline. The world outside grew dark as the sun set, but she didn't notice. The outside world had faded away, leaving only the universe on her screen. And then she had it. The modulations translated to a set of spatial coordinates, X, Y, and
and Z, a precise location within the digital cosmos of the video. With trembling hands, she instructed her rendering software to move to that point. The star field on her screen rushed forward. Nebulae of purple and gold streaked past. Galaxies spiraled away, and clusters of stars became a blur of light. The journey took only a few seconds, but it felt like a lifetime. Finally, the program slowed, centering on a single point of light in a vast, empty region of the simulated space. It looked like any other star from a distance, but Alara knew better. She engaged the program's maximum zoom, a function she had never needed to use before. The image magnified 1,000 times, 1,000,000, 1,000,000,000. The point of light grew, its edges sharpening. It wasn't a star. It wasn't a planet. It was a structure. Her breath caught in her throat. Floating in the silent digital void was a perfect geometric object. It was an intricate lattice of light and shadow, a crystalline form that pulsed with a soft internal luminescence. It was impossibly complex, yet utterly harmonious. A piece of architecture so advanced, it felt more like a living thing than a construct. It was beautiful and terrifying at all once. Who could build such a thing? As she stared, mesmerized, a new sound trickled from her speakers. The static in the video's audio track was receding, replaced by another sound. A new note emerged, then another, then another. They were not random. They were weaving together, forming a slow, haunting melody that filled the room with a sense of profound antiquity. The music was complex, following rules of harmony that were alien to human ears, yet it was deeply emotionally resonant. Alara leaned back in her chair, a single tear tracing a path down her cheek. Kaito had been right. It was an instruction manual. The first note had led her to the object. Now the object was responding with a song. The 140-year video was not a countdown to an end. It was a countdown to a beginning. The song was the first chapter, the first lesson, and Alara was its first student. The secret of shinywr was not about a long video. It was about a long journey, and she had just turned the key.
The melody washed over Alara, a current of sound that seemed to bypass her ears and resonate directly with her bones. It was a symphony of impossibilities, a cascade of notes that followed no earthly scale. Chords formed and dissolved in ways that should have been discordant and jarring, yet they possessed a